Hey everyone, Austin here again with another Let's Play video. Today, as you can see, it's going to be Rockman X4 for the Sega Saturn. Now, I'm kind of cheating on this one. I just recently did a full live stream of Magmard X4 for the Sony PlayStation, the North American version. I played through as both X and Zero in one sitting. I think it took us like 4 to 4.5 hours to get through both campaigns. However, I've been on a bit of a Magmard X kick. I played through Magmard X5, I played through Magmard X6, and you know, I was at the local game shop, and they happened to have a copy of Rockman X4 for Saturn. Now, Magmard X4 and Saturn was actually the first one I played. I didn't play the PlayStation version first. I actually owned the Saturn one back in the day. So this is kind of like what I am familiar with. And so I grabbed another copy, or I grabbed a copy of the Rockman X4 that they had. And I thought, you know what, it would be fun to do a full Let's Play of this game. Now that I'm warmed up to the game, since I did a live stream of it, I can go through the game, hopefully faster and more precise than we did on stream. Plus, I can show you guys the Saturn version. There are some, you know, slight graphical differences here and there, like with the transparency effects and things like that. And also, some people might be interested to know that the voices are different in the Japanese version. So X doesn't sound like a child in this version, the Japanese one specifically. So, yeah, I thought it was kind of killing two birds with one stone, and it would be fun to just go through this game again. Also, the music on the introduction animation, as well as the credits at the end, are different as well. So there are some differences like that. But we're going to go ahead and actually just skip through that, and we're going to go ahead and just jump right into the game. So before I actually jump into the game itself, as usual, I'm going to give a big shout out to my current Patreon backers. Thank you guys for your continued support. It means a lot to me. And I'm going to flash by the recent live stream super chatters as well. Thank you guys for your direct patronage on the live streams, and I hope you guys enjoy the content. So, alright, let's go ahead and not jump into the options menu. Now, the Saturn version, its controls default in kind of like a weird way as opposed to the PlayStation version. So I've actually altered my controls to where the Y button is fire, the B button is jump, and the C button is dash. So it's sort of to mimic the PlayStation setup. By default, X and A are both fire on this version. B is jump and C is dash. It's a really weird setup. And now I tried doing X is fire, A is jump, B is dash, but the angle of the buttons just makes for some really awful claw hand action going on. So, but by shifting basically all the buttons over one step to the right, it feels much more like the PlayStation version. So you can see the spot lamps in the back. You can see there's a mesh transparency effect. So the Saturn basically wasn't able to do transparencies on one of its video layers. And I want to say, like, one of the video processors could handle transparencies, but it was like mainly used for backgrounds and so forth, whereas the other video processor that was used for other things couldn't do transparencies. So basically, the video processor that was being used for those spot lamps was the one that can't do transparencies. Kind of like in layman's terms. I'm not very good at explaining those things. There's a lot of good YouTube channels out there that can explain those things. I'm not one of them. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and just skip through all the story. We have more of an excuse this time, because I'm going to guess probably 98% of you guys out there watching don't speak Japanese or read Japanese. So, this is one of the other neat graphical effect differences. You'll notice there's a heat wave effect in the background. That's not in the PlayStation version of the game. So, despite not having some transparent effects at certain parts of the game, there are some other parts that are pretty cool in comparison. So, you know, I got here for the first time again in a while, and I was like, you know, something feels off about this section. And then I played this version, and I was like, oh, that's what's off. And I noticed the heat wave effect. And then I went online to verify it, and yeah, sure enough, it's not in the PlayStation version for some reason. So the Magmard Dragoon level, which is basically a fire level, will also have that heat wave effect, and the PlayStation version will not. So the goal of this playthrough is to basically, you know, kind of like my live stream, go through the whole game. I'll try to be somewhat efficient with it. Hopefully try not to die too many times. We're going to go ahead and get all the armor. Not the ultimate armor, because in X4 the ultimate armor can only be accessed via a cheat code, which is kind of a shame. I was playing a lot of X5 these last couple of weeks, and you can get the ultimate armor in that without a cheat code. It's right before the end of the game, and it's kind of a shame that you can't get it without a cheat in X4. But that's okay. So this is our first little boss. He's not very tough. Even if he hits you, he doesn't do a ton of damage. And you do a lot of damage to him, though. And that's it. So one of the great things about X4, for those of you guys that haven't played this before, is you do have two different characters you can play as. You can play as X or Zero, and both play styles are vastly different, and it's one of the awesome things about this game. So if you're Zero, you've got a sword attack. It's close range, you've got to get in close, and fighting that boss feels completely different with X than it does with Zero. Alright, and we're going to skip that. I don't usually let the cutscenes roll out in my Let's Plays unless it's something that like I feel is really important to the experience. One of the reasons I do that is for time reasons, just so we can get through the playthrough faster. You know, my Let's Plays here are mainly walkthrough focused. They're there to sort of guide you through the game if you're having trouble with certain parts, things like that. You know, if you want to get invested in the story and so forth, I feel like it's the sort of thing where you should probably either watch a dedicated long play or, you know, go pick up the game yourself and play it. You know, I feel like story in games is usually best experienced when that's all you're focusing on. So, like I said, either watch a non-commentary long play or pick up the game and get invested in it firsthand. So, alright, this is actually, we're coming here first because this is where we're going to get our first armor piece. And it's going to be the boots. And the boots are nice because you can air dash. And you can also hover in the air. So that'll be somewhat handy later on. I don't actually use the hover mechanic all that often in this game, although it does have its uses. And there we go. See, there we go. We can air dash now, and if we press jump in the air again, we can hover, like so, for just a short period of time. So to hover, you basically just press jump in the air, and to air dash, you would just press the dash function in the air. Now, just like in the original Mega Man X, or I should say previous Mega Man X games, you know, you can dash by just pressing forward twice. So you can double tap forward, and it's the same thing with the air dash. You can either press the dash button in the air, or you can double tap forward to do your air dash. And there's a door right here. We're just gonna blow it up. Now I'm gonna have to go, you know, check out my stream from the PlayStation version again, because like it almost feels like the load times might be a tad bit faster in this game. I don't know if that's actually the case or if I'm imagining things, but if so, that's kind of interesting. But then again, I have been playing a lot of Mega Man X5 and Mega Man X6. They both have longer load sequences than what you usually get in X4. In the case of X5, a lot of it is because of all the portrait cutscenes that they have. It seems like every time it needs to load in, or every time it needs to switch to more than just a couple of portraits for the story, it's you know, another load screen pops up. So maybe I'm just used to more frequent load times and from playing X5 and potentially X6. So, we're going to be making multiple trips to a lot of these levels, including this one. So, on this level, there are these tree trunks right here that your projectiles reflect off of. You're going to eventually bust those open and to reveal a heart tank. We're just gonna kind of sit here, let these spiders come out, then we can dash through. I will say these controls are still taking a little while to get used to. I remember the last time I specifically played the Saturn version, probably 5 or 6 years ago, I mapped the dash function to, I think, the R key. So I wouldn't have to sort of like play claw hand, trying to press 3 face buttons at once with just my, my thumb. Something else that was chopped out of the North American versions, I should say international versions, I'm guessing this, you know, it's the same for Europe, is the Japanese voices at the beginning of a fight. Those were cut out. Except for Magmard Dragoon, actually. Or I should say, some of his voice samples were were left in, like the Hadouken, things like that. So as you can see, you can also cling the walls in this game. You'll constantly slide down. Yeah, this is a good, sort of a starter boss fight. He's not too tough. And you'll get a weapon ability that's pretty useful. Oops. I got hit by 2 spider webs. That wasn't good. That did a lot of damage, actually. So this ability that we're going to get is going to allow us to get a couple of items later on in the game. And then it's also going to be the weakness for split mushroom. So we're going to definitely use it on the mushroom. And let's go ahead and save it. One thing I really like about saving in this game, it's so much faster than it is on the PlayStation version. It doesn't have to, like, read and access the memory card. So you can just, like, mash A and just automatically save your game. It's quite nice, actually. We're gonna come here to Frost Walrus. Mainly because there's an item here that we can get. Ooh, Frost Kibatodos. I totally forgot they changed the names for the Western releases. So that is normally Frost Walrus in the North American one. And so yeah, you can come up here and you can get you know, some health refills and extra life. This is a good place to come back to when you need to get some refill your energy tanks. And there's another extra life right here. We are going to be coming back because there's a heart tank in a, ooh, that was close. Accidentally slipped off, and fortunately the hover saved me. So you can just walk off and then hover. So that's a really nice function that they added into this game. That way, you know, if you slip off a platform by accident, it's not as scary or threatening or risky as it is in other versions. Okay, so we can actually use the shoulder keys to change weapons. And there we go. So what we're going to do is fling this here, and then grab onto that, come up there just like that. And so one cool function in this game is you can actually, and this is in the PlayStation version as well, I just didn't have it active in my my stream, is you can actually have both your boss sub-weapons and your main buster equipped at the same time. You don't have to have them one out at a time exclusively. And this is a feature that was enabled by default in Mega Man X5 and Mega Man X6, but I had no idea it was even in X4 until I was streaming X5 and X6, and folks in the chat let me know that, hey, you can do that in X4 as well. So here we are. So we can both use that and fire our buster at the same time, which is really awesome. So this is a mini-boss. One of the nice things about this game is you do get some mini-bosses here and there to mix things up.
There we go. And on to the next section.
Ready?
Yeah, so Mega Man X4, it's a really fun game. You know, I thoroughly enjoyed this game when it came out back in the day. I got it the same year it came out. I got it on the Saturn again. The Saturn was actually my primary system of that then next generation. And so I got a lot of the games for Saturn. If they were multi-platform, I got them for Saturn. You know, like Resident Evil, I first played on Saturn. Mega Man X4, I first played on Saturn. And I really loved the first Mega Man X. I was a big fan of that game. It was one of my favorites in Super Nintendo. But I never knew anyone that had X2 or X3, so I didn't really get to play X2 or X3 back in the day, and I never bothered to rent them either. Not really sure why, to be honest with you. So when I played X4 for the first time, it was my first Mega Man X experience since the first Mega Man X game. And I was pretty impressed with it, honestly. Now, I know not everybody loves this game, but, you know, when it first came out, I thought the game was just quite something. I mean, the graphics were a huge step up over the Super Nintendo releases. The soundtrack was very appealing to me. I really, really enjoyed the soundtrack, and still do. And the gameplay was just very slick, very spot on. You know, in hindsight, the game is a little more basic than some of the, some of the other Mega Man games in the series, or Mega Man X games specifically. The levels are pretty straightforward. And, you know, I think that's one of the things I really enjoyed about the game, though, is, I have tried playing, X2 and X3, and getting your armor pieces and things like that weren't anywhere near as obvious. One of the things I sort of, prided myself in with Mega Man X1 and X4 is that I was able to find all the armor pieces myself. I didn't have to resort to a walkthrough. Things weren't too cryptic, and, that was part of the enjoyment for me, was, having that satisfaction of finding everything myself, and, not having to resort to a guide to do it. But there's a lot of great production values in Mega Man X4 as well, or Rockman X4. The animated cutscenes were really cool at the time. The bosses are huge. There's a lot of, effort put into just little details as well. Background effects, even your character select screen in the beginning with how, it's flashing. The portraits are flashing and whatnot, and it's got this arcade-style feel. And it's all those things combined just made it a really enjoyable experience for me. And I still love coming back to this game. I have warmed up to X5 and X6 in these recent weeks specifically, and I do like how they're more complex in certain ways. X6 in particular, a lot of people don't like that one, but I've really warmed up to it because of how complex it is compared to the other one. So Rockman X4, Mega Man X4, you get a much more straightforward, basic experience, but a very well-polished and well-produced experience, and that's awesome for me. But I also like you know, the less polished but more complex experience of, say, X6. I honestly think the X4, X5, and X6, they're all worth playing, and I highly recommend checking them out if you're a fan of the Mega Man series. Alright, I'm trying to figure out where I want to go next. So we got, let's see. We're going to go ahead and just do the biolaboratory here. We'll do Split Mushroom. And his name is still Split Mushroom in this one. That's good. And it's pretty cool. The announcer there, all the announcer, you know, excerpts were redone for the international releases. That's kind of a neat change as well. I like playing Japanese versions of games I'm already familiar with, just to see all the little, you know, the little differences and you know, minute details that vary from one version to another. Alright, so there's gonna be a hard tank coming up here shortly. Alright, it's gonna be a mini-boss up here, too. And I want to try something out, actually. I don't think this is gonna work, but... oh, it works! Very, very nice. That's awesome. That does a lot of damage, actually. So I say I want to try something here because I usually play Buster only when I play the Mega Man X games. It's a habit of mine. It's a habit I've had ever since the very beginning of the Mega Man series. And I've just gotten used to it. It's just kind of how I play. And, you know, for Mega Man 4 on NES and on, playing Buster only was made easier because you had the charge functionality, which always, you know, sliced and diced through multiple enemies at once. And I am playing really sloppy here. You know, I'm also a little used to the duck functionality, which was enabled or activated and introduced, I should say, in Mega Man X5. So we can just jump up there like that. There's our heart tank. So heart tanks extend your overall health, which is nice. So by the end of the game, our health bar is going to be much larger. And we're just gonna dash under these things. Ooh, I dashed too far. I got caught. You gotta watch out. You can get crushed in the Mega Man series. And it's very common in the X series. So I think that's our first death. Not too bad so far. I mean, the game's not all that hard, so really, you know, it's kind of bad if I do die, to be honest with you, but... you know, we're about 25 minutes in. I'm not too worried about it. It's better than dying, you know, 5 minutes in. Alright, it's going to be some health up here. And we did get a weapon tank, so if we actually decided to use our weapons here, we could... And actually what I'm going to do is switch over, just in case I want to use my weapon, in case I get desperate. There we go. And there we go. Yeah, so the spider web attack works as the split mushroom weakness. But like I said, I like to play with the buster. So, you know, what I'm going to do for the rest of the playthrough is sort of do a mixture of boss weaknesses and buster play. Instead of just like all or nothing, I'll just, you know, have both equipped. Soul Body. Soul Body is going to be needed for a couple of things, actually. It's going to be needed for an armor piece, it's going to be needed for an energy tank, and I think even a heart tank. So speaking of which, we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to try to get all this taken care of all at once, so we don't have to revisit this stage multiple times. Cyber Kujacker, that's a different name as well. It's Cyber Peacock in North America. Sounds like the K and U might be silent. Alright, so we're going to switch over to Soul Body here. And the Soul Body can actually destroy these eyeball-looking things, these yellow eyeball-looking things. And we want to get S ranks on all of these. And that's how you can get your hidden items. There's a heart tank. Energy tank, I think, is going to be the second one. There we go. S rank again. You'll know that you're not going to get an S rank when the hurry up signal comes up. Or you're probably not going to get an S rank if that comes up. It means you've taken too long. We're probably not going to get it. Come on. Oh, we still got it. Awesome. Yeah, I was a little worried because like we ran out of ammo. So your boss-up weapons do have limited ammunition, but you do get an item later on in the game that'll allow you to use them infinitely, which is nice. I really like how they incorporated an item like that in this game, because it's frustrating getting towards the end of another, you know, older Mega Man games, running out of ammo, and having it be, say, required for a final boss or something, and then you basically just get locked out. You gotta get a game over to get your, you know, ammunition back. So that's everything on this level. We got the helmets, the helmet upgrade. We're just gonna fall down here like so. Oops, took a hit. Alright, so we're going to switch back over to Soul Body. And this is going to be the weakness for this boss. We're going to go ahead and just use Soul Body on this boss. It's just easier. He can throw out some homing missiles, and they can be kind of a pain to deal with. So let's just go ahead and rely on this. And it looks like it's the helmet that makes it so you don't use up weapon energy. So notice how I'm not using weapon energy right now. Because, yeah, we got an energy tank, and it definitely was not the energy tank that did that. Very nice. Now, you're going to eventually get a Buster or Arm Cannon upgrade. That'll allow you to charge up another level. Actually, not another level. It allows you to charge up your boss sub-weapons. I'm thinking Mega Man X1, where you get a third level of charging. But it'll allow you to use your charge on your sub-weapons. Now, that'll use your ammunition. But I don't really ever use that in this game. I find the basic sub-weapons pretty useful for the most part. I don't usually have a need to charge them up in this game. Now, in like X5 and X6, yeah, there's more of a need to charge up in those games, or specific attacks as well. Okay, so now this is going to be sort of like a mid-game boss fight. This unlocks after you've done a few Mavericks. And we're just gonna basically play this normally. No boss sub-weapons here. You can either jump over these, or you can dash under them. And he basically disappears and then teleports right on you. So when he disappears like that, what we want to do is just dash in a direction. And that way we're out of his way by the time he appears. Teleport. I'm dashing too soon. But that's it. Alright, so we get the Cyber Peacock weapon. What we're going to do is we're going to use... we're going to go here, because this will give us... I think we can actually get our Buster upgrade here. Storm Fukuroul. I have no idea how to pronounce that. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, it's interesting, like, you know, it's been so long since I played Rockman X4, not Mega Man X4, but Rockman X4 specifically, that I forgot they changed the Maverick names, for some of them. Not all of them, like Split Mushroom is still Split Mushroom in this version. So this guy right here, we can charge up an attack, which is pretty handy. So we'll go ahead and just play it safe and just use the charge up attack. When you use the charge up attack, you cannot move. Gonna come up here, get some health. And there's gonna be a heart tank right there. Just got it. Now we're gonna actually need the Buster upgrade in order to get another armor piece. There we go.
Ready?
There's gonna be a lot of little pods here that shoot out lasers. So you can actually hear them charge up. Now this is also a good place to try to max out your energy tanks. So we're gonna go ahead and just do that. So enemies just spawn right back in once you push them off the screen. Kind of like classic Mega Man style. Now that can get a little annoying later on in the game, but in parts like this, it's actually pretty handy. Because it means you can basically grind out for health pickups really quickly. Get your energy tanks maxed out. So how the energy tanks work is if your health is full, any health pickups that you get will be applied to your energy tank. And then when you're low on health, you can use your energy tank to refill your health. Just like classic Mega Man. So we're almost there. And it does make a sound when it's increasing that energy tank. And that's it. Now when you pick up health, it's not going to make a sound because your energy tank is already full. And we're going to switch over to the web attack right here. Alright. Got it. First try again. Nice. I got it on the first try on my PlayStation playthrough as well, so that was cool. So we're going to skip that first canister. We're going to come over to this one over here. It's the one I prefer. And you can charge up, and it's a huge attack. And if I wanted to, I can pick this one up too, but I'm not going to. Oops. There we go. That's probably one of the trickier parts in the game, getting up there. I died a lot back in the day trying to get that. Look at how powerful this attack is. What's great about it is that it basically leaves behind some energy that does extra damage. And the size of your charge attack is much larger too. And what's great is that this also enables us to charge up our boss weapons. And we're going to need that to get, again, another armor piece. Our last armor piece, actually. And we're going to switch over to the peacock weapon. Alright, there we go. So as you can see, the peacock weapon is basically this lock-on. You can lock on to enemies and just zap them. Works really well in that boss. And we're just gonna save it as quickly as possible. Look at that! Done in, like, not even 5 seconds. I love it. Okay, so, we got the owl. And where do I want to go now? We're gonna do, yeah. We're gonna... No, actually we can't. We have to come here first. And I just want to make sure I've got everything I need, so I don't have to do these stages multiple times. Yeah, I think we can pretty much just do either of these 2 stages. It doesn't really matter. So, let's go ahead and we'll take care of this guy first. So this is an auto-scroller. We're on a bike. Jet Stingren. So it's Stingray in the North American one. And this one's probably going to take us a few times to get through. It's it can be pretty tough. So basically, just pressing your fire button does this. You can jump, and then pressing your dash button does that. And there is going to be a heart tank here, and there's going to be an energy tank on the second section. And that's the heart tanks. We need to die. Gotta kill ourselves. I always miss the heart tank. Always miss it. There we go. Awesome. Oops, I didn't mean to press that. Ooh, we got lucky. There we go. Magmard X4 also has one of those levels in it, but it's tough in that game. It's like pure memorization. X4, you can kind of wing it a little bit. You don't have to memorize it, but you do have to know where the heart tank is, at least. And the same goes for this section. We're going to go ahead and attack him. If you don't attack him, he'll just sort of hover over there and just throw projectiles at you, which is really annoying. There's also some spiked balls in the water here we have to watch out for if we don't want to take too much damage. And he's back. Oops, and we died. That was a mistake to do that.
Ready?
And I messed up again. So that was the energy tank. This is what I was talking about. We'd probably have to do this multiple times. I always have to do this multiple times. Now the other thing about this Saturn controller setup, though, in having the dash button mapped over to C, is that I'm having a tendency of pressing the dash button when I'm like jumping, which is not good. I should say I'm pressing the dash button accidentally, basically. Oh, I did it again! That last platform's a little bit higher up. I have to keep that in mind. Alright, here he is, coming up. Oh, and I missed the energy tank! I missed the energy tank. Come on.
Ready?
I did it again. I pressed the dash button by accident.
Ready?
It's one of the nice things about the PlayStation version and that controller setup is I don't seem to have that problem. Which is why I've heard from multiple people now, you know, doing lots of streaming and hearing people talk about the Saturn version of some of these games, is for this game in particular, they like mapping the dash button to one of the shoulder keys. Gotta do it again. So I basically have to dash through and I gotta get it just right. You can't just jump up there. So we are no longer gameplay and talk, we are gameplay and figure it out. Because apparently I can't, or haven't been able to yet. Missed it again! Man, what the hell is going on? Yeah, so when I said this usually gives me trouble, I didn't mean it like this. I definitely did not mean it like this. Got it that time. Jump! Okay, who cares? We got the energy tank, that's all I care about. So now we got 2 energy tanks. And that took us like 8 tries or something stupid like that. There we go. Now that nightmare's over with. Alright, we're gonna switch over to the ice attack. And what I like to do on this boss is try to get up on the wall too. So he shoots these guys out. I want to make sure I destroy them. So yeah, he's weak against the ice attack. And the good thing about equipping both your Buster and your boss sub-weapon is that, you know, as he comes up, or as he flies across the screen, you can bring out your ice attack, and it'll hit him as he dives down. There we go. And that's that. Alright, so Ground Hunter is going to be handy later on in the game. On Sigma, specifically, the final boss. Alright, and we're going to come over here to the military train. And this name is different as well.
Ready?
So we've got a second energy tank now, so we can try to get that filled up as well. Alright, and there's gonna be a mini-boss coming up here, too. Right here. And this is gonna take us to our second section. Now, every level is divided up into two halves. And that Charge Buster just absolutely annihilated that boss. I'm okay with that. A lot of times I'll come here without my cannon upgrade, and so that boss is much more difficult. Extra life. Alright, we're gonna use this guy. Just over here, we can destroy these. And there's gonna be a hard tank over here. There it is. I like jumping and attacking with this guy, because you get this nice overhead attack. Gotta watch out for these holes here. I remember the, you know, when I come back to this game and I'm rusty and I'm not paying attention, the holes just kind of blend in with the ground for me, and I fall to my death, typically. Alright, so we can also use this weapon right here that we just got. And that'll also do some damage on this guy. You know, I'm sitting here and I'm like, this game looks better than the PlayStation version. And in reality, it doesn't. It's just that when I did my PlayStation version live stream, I was using S-Video because of a hardware setup issue I was having at the time. But now we're doing RGB in this playthrough, and the colors just, they pop so much better with RGB. And it's not that the Saturn version looks better, it's just that it's RGB versus S-Video, basically. And, so this whole time I've been here playing this game, I'm like, man, something just feels so much better about this version. But it's not the version, it's just, it's my video output. So thanks to using RGB and going through the FrameMeister, we should get a pretty crisp image on this video. And any softness that's on the picture is actually a result of my my video editing software. So here's the heat wave effect in the background that you don't get in the PlayStation version. That is actually something that's better in this version. So I don't really think either version is like perfect. You know, it's like this version has mesh transparencies. PlayStation version has actual transparencies, like on your dashing and things like that. But this has things like the heat wave effect, which is really awesome. This is actually a really basic level, so it actually helps having some flair, some graphical flair in the background. I mean, this is probably the most straightforward level in the game. You got a lot of fire coming out and things like that, but it's not really that threatening. I mean, even this part right here, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just tank like this. I mean, this is, you know, the sheer definition of linear. It's just left to right. Now, there's going to be a hard tank up here. And I always just dash my way through here. Oops, that was close. And I'm going to come over here, just like that. Oops, not just like that. So what we'll do is we'll use the split mushroom ability again. Just like that. But we're going to need to switch back over to this attack. And this is where we're going to get our last armor upgrade. I'm going to come over here, jump up there, and, oops, I must have switched off. Okay, we're just going to go ahead and charge up this weapon. Wrong one. This one. There we go. Alright, and there we go. We're pretty much, we've got X's full suit. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this guy into the boss fight, too. This was always really cool, being able to do this. And we're just going to come down here, right into the boss fight. So normally you would drop down, but if you have this mech, you can take the bottom route and use it against the boss. Wow, and we killed him with the mech. I don't know if I've ever done that before. Usually I take enough damage to where the mech gets destroyed about, you know, 3/4 of the way into the fight, or maybe even halfway. Alright, so now what we're gonna have to do is go back through some of the levels to get our missing items. Alright, so let's, we got everything there. It's pretty much just the ice level and the jungle. Okay, so we'll do the jungle, since we haven't seen that in a while.
Ready?
That is kind of one of the nice things about X4, though, is if you do things right in the beginning, you don't have to make too many, you know, stops back to levels you've already played. Another extra life. Alright, almost there.
Ready?
I really like on this level how enemies are kind of hidden away at points. You know, sort of like obfuscated by the, you know, like the trees and things like that, the foreground layers. It's pretty cool. Alright, so we can actually come down here if we want. And there it is, there's our heart tank. And I don't have any other reason to keep going, so we're going to use this escape function, which basically just gets us out immediately. And then back to the ice level.
Ready?
What are our energy tanks like? Maxed out. Okay. Well, we don't need to do anything other than get the heart tank here. And then it's on to the final stretch of the game. And that's it. Yeah, we're maxed out on our health bar. And we got everything. Alright, so this is the final stretch of the game. We got some final levels, we got some final bosses. And we got Sigma, and we got the typical Mega Man boss rush.
Ready?
So, having all your armor upgrades basically gives you what's called the fourth armor, or what would be referred to as later Mega Man games as the fourth armor. You actually start with the fourth armor in Mega Man X5 if you choose so. And you can play through the whole game with it. Although the fourth armor in that game was nerfed a little bit. there was also this armor you'd get in Mega Man X5 called the Falcon armor. That would reappear in Mega Man X6 and would also be nerfed, just like the 4th armor was nerfed in Mega Man X5. Alright, so we get to fight this guy again. Alright, and that's that. So we're a little over an hour in. It's not too bad, actually. I think it's a decent time. We actually spent a lot of time on the Stingray level, though. We probably spent like 15 minutes there, so... And just right back to it. So this little helper guy that's featured in the story, he actually backstabs you and turns into a maverick. And I won't spoil the story too much, in case you want to watch it yourself, if you haven't played this game before. Yeah, the Mega Man X series had always been a little dramatic, but Mega Man X4 kind of took it to another level. He's not too bad as a boss fight. And there's actually a similar pattern that Sigma does in Mega Man X5. Basically that wave pattern that this guy just did. Sigma does one just like it. There we go. Pretty good fight, actually. I didn't really take much damage at all. So if you play as Zero, it's actually a different fight here. And parts of the game that are scripted with X are scripted differently with Zero. The stories are a little bit different depending on the character you play as.
Ready?
So you can actually take the top way or the bottom way. In my live stream, we actually went the top way, so we'll go ahead and take the bottom way in this playthrough. If I recall correctly, the bottom way is tougher. I haven't actually been down here in a long, long, long time, so we'll kind of just see what happens. One of the downsides to having this charged buster attack, the arm cannon upgrade, oops, no floor, is that when the energy is left behind, you can't shoot. You have to wait until that energy goes away. That's one of the downsides to it. That was bad. Yeah, so I was basically refiguring that out for the very first time in a long time. But yeah, either way you go, you end up in the same place, so it doesn't matter which route you take. Alright, so this is a really, really large boss. He takes up a huge part of the screen, and you've got to hit him in the head up top. And again, all this has story implications, but, you know, we haven't been focusing on that in this playthrough. Oh, that's not good. That's not good. I got lucky. All these buttons are so close together, and I've got to press basically 3 buttons at once. With having my hands pretty cramped on top of these buttons, I'm pressing buttons I don't really mean to be pressing. Like, a lot of times you'll see me hovering in the air. I'm not actually meaning to do that. It's just I keep accidentally pressing the jump button when I don't mean to. I mean, it's not really harming me right now. It's just, you know, making the boss fight take a little bit longer. Now, this is one of those bosses I've never bothered to find a weakness for. I always just fight him with the buster. And I'm sure he's got a weakness that'll let you kill him much faster. But we just do it buster only. Alright, so this is the last stretch of the game. And hopefully we can do Sigma without too much trouble. If I die at Sigma, that's gonna be a problem. Because if you die at Sigma, and you've used your energy tanks, you really have no way of refilling said energy tanks. So we're gonna try our best on this this first attempt. But we gotta fight the Robot Masters again. Or I should say, the Mavericks. And this is going to be Split Mushroom. gonna try to charge this up too. That actually doesn't do a whole lot. Interesting that the charge one doesn't really do much damage, but the regular one does. All right. I'm gonna come back up, get some health. So every time you beat a boss, this health reappears. And because this boss is always the first one I fight when I play this game, I always forget what his weakness is. So let's try to figure that out. I don't know, let's try this. Nope. No, this is the weakness for Magmard Dragoon. Yeah, I don't know. So you've also got this Nova attack up here too, which is something you get with your full armor. Unfortunately, you can only use it once, and then it depletes. So if you use the cheat code in the game to get the ultimate armor, you'll be able to use the Nova attack, or the Giga attack, not Nova attack, the Giga attack, infinitely. So I used everything, except his weapon. Let's see. Maybe it's a Metal Man scenario. No. Well, I guess he's not really weak to anything. Maybe maybe he's weak to a fully charged up attack. All right. So this is not a whole lot to explain here. I mean, we're just fighting these Robot Masters again, or these Mavericks. I keep calling them Robot Masters when I play Mega Man X, but in reality they're Mavericks. Robot Masters are the, what you'd call the bosses in the original Mega Man series. But, yeah, it's basically just rinse and repeat. You do it all over again. This is pretty much a staple for the Mega Man series. You know, starting with the very first game in the franchise. Although the very first game in the franchise implemented it a little bit differently. With, you know, basically integrating the bosses a second time into the levels themselves. Starting with Mega Man 2, you would go to this big room with all 8 Robot Masters accessed via teleporters. Now what's interesting is, I thought about this recently, Mega Man X1 did it very similarly to Mega Man 1 on NES, where it integrated the bosses into the levels themselves. And I really like that. I kind of wish they did that with this game. Doing so makes the boss rush aspect feel less like padding, and more like an added challenge to whatever final level, one of several final levels you're on. That's actually a pattern I'm not used to seeing, because I'm always using the Peacock lock-on laser, which is his weakness. Alright, was that the last one? No, we've got one more. Yeah. Oops. All right. Alright guys, this is the last stretch. And there's basically, I think there's gonna be a cutscene here. No, there's not. Alright, so we're gonna need to use the fire attack for Sigma's first form here. Alright, and for this next one, we're gonna actually jump up on one of these walls and just jump over him like that. This first form is really easy if you get it down just right. And I really want to take as little damage as possible in this first form, because the second two forms are much more difficult. And again, if I run out of energy tanks, I don't really have much of a way of refilling them. Nice. Okay. Alright, so on to the third form. There's one little health increase here, or health refill, and that's it. And there's no way to get your health back in this boss. One nice thing about Mega Man X5 and X6 is that it is possible to get some health back through health drops on the final boss. On his final forms, anyway. Alright, and actually what I want to do is I want to switch over to this weapon, too. So he's got this pattern here, where his head comes out. If there's spikes on the back, you just want to dash over to the left. There's another one where two of these heads pop up, and he sucks you in. And that's a really, really dangerous one. And for that one, you just want to get really far away from him, as far away as you can. Yep, this one right here. Oops. Oh, that's not good. Gonna go ahead and use an energy tank. I think we'll be fine. I'm definitely messing up here. There we go. Awesome, got it. So his, you know, the Sigma head in the floor is probably the toughest part to deal with. But fortunately, we only got the bad pattern once. And now we're basically just going to fight this guy over and over. And if I wanted to, I could probably use the Giga attack on here. Yeah. Doesn't do a lot of damage on him, though. It does a ton of damage on Sigma and X5. And one of the cool things about X5 is you can get the ultimate armor legitimately. You don't have to use a code for it. And so you've got unlimited Giga attacks on the final boss, which makes life so much easier. Which is especially good in that game because the Sigma final boss fight in that game is actually tougher than it is in this game. So overall, I'd say Mega Man X4 isn't really that hard of a game, but Sigma is a tough fight. Like, it'll throw, I think, a lot of people off that haven't gotten here before. Because much of the rest of the game is fairly simple, fairly straightforward. You know, what I like about Mega Man X4 is that it's a smooth ride. You know, whereas, like, you know, Mega Man X6 in particular, very stressful, especially on a first playthrough. Mega Man X4 isn't like that. It's a very relaxing first playthrough, up until the final boss. And that's it. We just beat Rockman X4 for the Sega Saturn. And so all this probably isn't going to make a whole lot of sense, because we skipped through pretty much all the story. But Mega Man X4, it ends on a depressing note. So if you do follow the story, it does end on a relatively depressing note for both characters, honestly.
ゼロ、もし俺がイレギュラー化したら君が処理してくれ。
バカなこと言ってないでさっさと戻ってこい。
約束だよ、ゼロ。
And you got X's theme in there in the background that you hear towards the beginning of the game. So that's Rockman X4. Yeah, really awesome game. I'm glad I was able to do this in a Let's Play. I know I kind of cheated and did the live stream just a couple weeks ago, but, you know, I had the urge to play this game again as well, because, you know, I picked up the Saturn version, and I was like, I really wanted to play through it again. So this kind of killed two birds with one stone, or maybe even three, because, you know, I've been meaning to do a dedicated Let's Play of this game for many, many years now, and I just never got around to it. I got to play it again on the Saturn, and you guys got to see the Saturn version, which is cool. And also the Japanese version, so you got to hear some of the different voice acting and see the different character names and so forth. But yeah, that's pretty much that, guys. I don't really have a whole lot else to talk about. If you haven't played Mega Man X game, this isn't a bad place to start, to be honest with you. It's a very smooth experience, a very smooth playing game overall. Lots of fun. Great music, great graphics. You know, it's a good showing of 2D on, you know, in the 32-bit generation, the Sega Saturn, Sony PlayStation, etc. And definitely worth playing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, as usual, you know, to post them in the comment section below. I'm gonna go ahead and just roll out right here. I don't really think there's anything else. So I'm going to say thanks for watching, guys. If you're brand new to my channel, consider subscribing. And also, if you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And for everyone that's already subbed to my channel, thank you for your usual support. I hope you guys continue to enjoy these Let's Plays. And until the next video, take it easy.